Hey math kids, today we're going to talk about reciprocal trigonometric functions, and this is different than inverse, so let's just talk about some terminology real quick. If we say sine raised to the negative 1, this is an inverse sine function. But if we do 1 over sine of x, that's going to be a reciprocal. Now, there's special names for reciprocal functions, and so I'm going to write those down real quick. Okay, so there's cosecant, which equals 1 over sine. Now, your book likes to use cosecant like that, but you'll also see it like this. So either of those just mean 1 over sine. Okay, we also have secant, which is 1 over cosine. And then we also have cotangent, which is 1 over tangent. But since tangent is equal to sine over cosine, if we did the reciprocal of that, that would be cosine over sine. Okay, so you'll just have to get used to these, do a little bit of memorization. Now there's only one unit, or one example in this section. Let's see, it's not letting me erase for some reason. That's okay. So what it's asking us to do, it says use sine of x to draw cosecant. So cosecant is 1 over sine. So if we draw a sine function, it's going to look like this. They want us to draw it in between 2 pi and negative 2 pi. So we're going to draw it like that. Let's see, let's just get rid of this right here. Whoops. Maybe not. Okay. So let's mark the spots that we know on sine. So this one's going to be pi halves. This one's pi. This is 3 pi halves. And 2 pi. This is 0. Negative pi halves. Negative pi. Negative 3 pi halves. And negative 2 pi. So those are all our markings that we see on the unit circle. Now, what's going to happen if we take the value of sine and do 1 over that value? Well, these places where it's 0, we're going to end up with asymptotes, because that would create 1 over 0, division by 0, which creates a vertical asymptote. Now, if we plug in a 1, if our value is 1, and so we do 1 over 1, that's just going to give us that same value. Same thing with this negative 1 right here. So these green dots are actually going to be exactly the same on the cosecant function as they are on the sine function. Now, the rest of it, what's going to happen is if we plug in this value with like a lower value, if we do 1 over a low value, it's going to start getting higher and higher and higher and higher. And so what's going to happen is we're going to get this, we're going to get this. So it's going to kind of look like a parabola, but it's going to be going towards an asymptote. So it's not exactly the same thing. This one, if we plug in a lower and lower value, it's going to be a higher number, but it's going to be negative, and so it's going to look like this. And so our cosecant function is going to look like this, and it's going to be bound by these asymptotes. Now, I'm not going to check it with technology like they ask us to do. You can do that if you want to convince yourself that this graph is correct. If you have additional questions, come to Math Lab. Until then, calculator.